We hope you're in the arms of the angels.
Yes.
Flying away.
We are recording today in a very special place with one of our Whiskey Bro friends with Euphony Productions, so we can have some video for you guys because we have not successfully achieved that on our own so far. So we're excited to be here recording.
No, we're just cool. We got invited to come hang out in the studio.
Yeah. I've been listening to a book that they just narrated for Audible through Euphony Productions. Are you listening to it too?
Yeah, I do have to say, beautiful book talk boyfriend voice.
I mean,
like clear,
Chance.
Crisp. Chance, you knocked it out of the park.
The things you could do with that voice.
The things you could do with that voice.
So we're listening to The Point. It's written by Lane Aiken, and it had the Audible version of it was produced and recorded and directed and performed by you guys, right?
Dr. Fagley and me.
I love it.
You need you know how DJ Khaled has that like signature sound? Euphony Productions needs like another one,
Definitely.
But something close to that.
Okay.
For sure.
Also, don't sue us, DJ Khaled.
He would never.
We just said that.
We're tight.
You
Absolutely. You just said we're cool. They don't even know how cool we are.
Yeah.
They don't even know how cool we are. Okay, so this book is all about previous Sheriff Aiken's experience as a Texas Ranger and working undercover in the meth world in Texas.
Yeah, it was really cool for me to read this book and have this narration and the visuals because if you know Lane in person, you know that his undercover look of like shaggy hair, beard is not how he presents
100%
all day, every day, which I thought was a really cool dichotomy. And everyone who knows him loves him. He always has fans, but it was really cool to get to see sort of that hippie side
for sure.
Lane, which I never would have expected in a million years, but I love it.
What I really loved about it, and this is like, I am not, my go-to vibe is not being a hater, but there was a little bit of me that was like, oh man, this is just going to glorify like the law enforcement side of this world.
No.
And it does not. He's so real from Jump Street. Yeah, like he shines a light on, the corruption and the nastiness and the humanity, like good and bad.
And one thing that stuck out to me from a sociological standpoint is that he did a fantastic job of showcasing to people who are maybe not familiar with North Texas and rural communities, sort of this generational and cyclical nature of living in an impoverished town and how these crises attack lower socioeconomic status populations more than the next. And so I think he did a really great job setting the scene for people who are fortunate enough to have never been in this lifestyle.
Yeah.
And become understanding of it.
Absolutely.
Not so much okay or empathize, but just understanding of how it's not a one-size-fits-all problem. You can't just come in and say, don't do meth in the town, and the town won't do meth. It's so much deeper, and the generational roots run so far. And I think he did a fantastic job kind of setting that scene up for people who aren't from... We're blessed that we grew up in small town Texas and we get this life. But for those, hashtag blessed. Those who didn't grow up in the meth capital... I think he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, if you want to get a little insight, and not in a desensitizing way.
No.
Like, it's still awful. He still shines a light on the darkness associated with that world, but really gives you like a genuine, new and unique understanding of the implications of that world. And I love what you're saying, like the fact that Well, and even when I talk about addiction, like when we think about doing an episode on addiction, of course, one of the first thinkers that, my go-to, Gabor Maté, right? What does he talk about? Like, it's not about the addiction, it's about the pain underneath the addiction.
Exactly.
So generational trauma or patterning, the habits that you created to cope at a very young age show up then in your adult capacity to function with life. And
I know.
Sometimes...
And I speak for the trailer park community as a member of Proud Trailer Park Trash. It's a different lifestyle than people think about. They think it's just, oh, that person's addicted to a substance. They must be lazy. They have a low IQ. There's all these stereotypes that go into it. But until you really understand the dichotomy of getting out of cyclical poverty and how challenging that can be.
Well, and that the system works against that.
Yeah, and he did a great job highlighting like what the feds were doing versus the state and local government. And when I was listening, I was like, what is the point of a federal fucking government? I was a little bit of a hater because of the challenges that he had run into. Sorry, I don't want to misspeak. I don't want any feds.
No, I think you're doing,
but
I think your interpretation of the book, and Chance and I were even talking about it before we started recording. Lane says that 75% of that book is fiction and 90% or 25% of that book is fiction, and 75% is nonfiction. Like 75% he lived it, and the rest of it is a little embellished or dots are connected that maybe wouldn't have been connected otherwise.
Same with my stories. Same with.
I think we always give that disclaimer on the podcast. Like anybody who listens, I'm like, please don't take it all as fact, please.
Yeah.
My boss for the distillery says, "Never let the truth get in the way of a good story."
Amen.
Oh, word.
Amen to
word.
that.
Absolutely.
True Revelations 5:7.
I think that he wants us to look at systemic struggles on the law enforcement side and on the addiction side. I think he wants us to acknowledge like the questions that should be asked. Yeah. Right? 100%. I think he does that on purpose. Yeah. And I appreciate that glimpse into the world.
Yeah. I really thought I was going to read it and not have the same viewpoints as the author.
Oh
even
gosh,
though I know Lane as a person and I know how good his soul and his heart is. But I thought, I kind of can veer towards maybe a little far too understanding of substance use.
For sure.
And I was really impressed. It was a really well done book from a sociological perspective and a government perspective, as well as just a think piece on where do we attack the problem at.
Right.
And
I think demonstrating the pain on both ends of that spectrum, like the narcs who are undercover and trying to attack the problem and the struggles that they have as a result of experiencing trauma or being away from their family or missing that night with their kid or whatever, and seeing the humanity in that story as well as the humanity in the addiction.
Yeah,
it's
that's
hard.
a great point.
Yeah,
that's a great point. Not many people know that our area was the meth capital.
Yeah.
So
fun fact.
Fun fact. We don't put it on T-shirts anymore. I do think they banned that. They told us no more. Yeah. Are we allowed to? No.
Didn't bode well for the.
Didn't bode well.
Yeah.
What's so funny is really. Can I insert
absolutely
a little thing here? So when I first moved to North Texas, I'm from South Texas. When I first moved to North Texas, to the area that we're at, every time I would go visit a town, I'd be like, oh, this is such a cute little town. And they'd be like, man, that town's got meth all over it. I hate them. They've got drugs everywhere. And then you go to the very next town and they're like, no, it's actually that town. Yeah. They're the ones with the meth. And I'm like, y'all are just finger meth pointing at every other town. Who's actually slanging here?
Well, unfortunately, it's such a rampant issue that I'm pretty sure it's not reserved to one zip code.
No, but it's just funny that North Texans love y'all to death. That's what y'all want to bring up. Anytime I'm like, oh, I just passed through that little small town XYZ. It's so cute. And they were like, girl, don't
stories
stay.
I could tell.
Don't stay long.
Don't stay after dark.
That is a pass by town.
That's
and I'm
funny.
like, wow, that's your tourism slogan? Like, we should probably work on the tourism slogans around here.
Probably.
But just as an outsider looking in, that's my advice.
Yeah, we definitely are centralized in the meth capital. I've shared a little bit that my personal story is affected by meth pretty significantly, just because my, whether it's an active addiction right now or not, I couldn't tell you because I don't have direct insight to this person's life. But that struggle with addiction and masking pain and running from reality has been what has made me an absolute single mom with my kids 24/7. And they, there's a lot of grief in that story. And so I feel really personally connected, not only as a mental health professional, but just my kids don't have a connection with their dad because of drugs. And my own father struggled for a very long time with a very significant alcohol and arguably coke addiction for a while, depending on his socioeconomic. Yeah,
white collar drugs.
Depending on his.
That's what I will say about meth. It's not cost prohibitive.
That's so true.
You know what I'm saying? In this economy,
you can bury that shit in a nice chest underground and make your own.
Yeah,
just give it time. Patience is a virtue.
In this economy, what I appreciate is a good deal.
Gotta love a chemist.
We gotta love a chemist. We love women and men in STEM. Yes. We didn't pick where we should draw the line. But
well, I think, and I think that goes directly back to what you just said. People have these assumptions of like low IQ or lack of competency in the workforce, and that's why they end up being addicts. And that's just that does not shake out in any research.
It's not true.
Specifically the neurodivergent community.
I wanted to talk about this.
Yeah,
I made specific points to talk about this.
Let's talk about ADHD, autism. I mean, let's specifically focus on ADHD and meth, and then we can talk about just like neurodivergence and numbing and masking in general.
Yeah.
But if I don't want to get on a soapbox about like the pharma world, but if you have been a kid that you were on an ADHD med from age 10 to 18, now you don't have a pediatrician or insurance, so you don't have access to that prescription stimulant that you were prescribed for a very long time. And now all of the plates are falling. You can't handle any task. You have no capacity to focus. You can't function in the workplace or in college. And so you find your own capacity to function. And what does that look like? Sometimes an addiction to monsters, but more likely an addiction to some street drugs.
Yeah. So I kind of have a little bit personalized take, as well as, I did some sleuthing, like the little data slut that I am. And, your take is a great one, and it's talked about a lot, but I think a take that's not as frequently brought up is one where if your brain has been different your whole life and you haven't been treated, and you're struggling and you're kind of in this like cyclical depression, ADHD, you can't function, your brain feels really heavy and bogged down, and you get a taste of something for the first time where you experience euphoria. That's going to be really difficult for you to walk away from.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're finally getting the break that you feel so justified and deserved in getting. And within the neurodivergent community, there's a lot of non-diagnosis or, people who are higher functioning and just kind of get missed with the system.
Absolutely. And I don't think what you're saying is different from what I'm saying. I think it's just continuing the conversation, because I think that that's absolutely true. Quieting the noise, right? Yeah. I just think that there is this reality, whether it's pain meds to heroin or Adderall to meth, there is a reality that there's a systemic issue that can lead to that as well. But I think one of the most interesting things that we've talked about this too, never on the podcast, I don't think, but just as human beings, like when you feel, like you just said, that lack of belonging and that incapacity to connect to people, like how 3 drinks can make that feel better.
Yeah.
And then sometimes people don't, it doesn't always have to be like a hard drug or like a euphoric high, but even just that numbing to take that social anxiety edge off, or to take that need to mask off, or then the alcohol becomes the mask, right? Like there's not just one formula that you can plug it in and be like, this is the likelihood of this person to end up struggling with addiction.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's all of these pain points and all of these struggles with connection and all of like these substances or behaviors. Addiction doesn't always have to be linked to alcohol, drugs, whatever, right? It can be social media, it can be sex, it can be porn, it can be masturbation, it can be not being home, it could be workaholism.
All of the major hobbies. You're just naming all of the major millennial hobbies.
Yeah. So, I mean, we love numbing as a society, right? And so sometimes it's not a hardcore addiction that's only the issue. It doesn't always look like rehabilitation and AA. Sometimes numbing and addiction can look like things that people actually congratulate and praise every day.
I want to talk about, I actually want you to talk about, but I want to bring up the limited information that I have about the human brain. You have a vast knowledge more. is that meth is so addictive because it just makes your brain pump out dopamine. And so there's like this cellular level of what we're describing as my simple brain calls it euphoria, but there's probably a better term in Megan's world for this.
No, I think euphoria is actually, I think it's really fitting.
Yeah.
Because it's that removal from the painful reality that they exist in. Unfortunately, there's also this, there's this detachment from concern, or I don't want to say a detachment from accountability, but there is a detachment from the implications of your behavior also, like, because you're so like on cloud nine, you're pain free and you're not causing any pain because you're so removed from that reality. And it does feel like this rush of absolute pleasure inducing brain chemistry. It's like if it is somebody who is perpetually abused or perpetually detached or feels a lack of belonging or is like dealing with depression, anxiety, like it can create this feeling. And I've actually heard multiple people in recovery from meth or people who have struggled to recover from meth describe it that way. Like once you feel that, it's so hard to not want to feel that again. And
well, I'm so sorry.
Yes, please. Yeah.
No, I've made silly everyone makes statements that they probably shouldn't make, and I'm the fucking queen of it. They should give me a trophy for it. But I've made statements, and this does have a point that you're going to get to probably quicker than I do. But I've made silly statements like I watched the show Pam and Tommy, and I was like, God damn, popping Molly with my boyfriend sounds like a great fucking weekend. Like Pam and Tom, they made it look so cool. And you've looked at me and you've been like, hey, love, the withdrawal that you as a person, your brain, you get serotonin for the first time and then you withdraw from it, baby, I'd have to put you on my desk and watch you like a hawk.
No, I think that's so important to talk about because with meth, the prolonged exposure to methamphetamines and the way that it changes the brain chemistry means that you may not be able to naturally get that dopamine hit again. Like you may not be able to experience that level of joy, that high in regular life.
Yeah.
With Molly, man, the serotonin crash from that is hard. And I think that maybe people can relate to that a little bit with anxiety. Like if you get really, really drunk and then you have not only you feel like shit the next day because you're dehydrated, but your body is also recalibrating from that depressant reality. And you have that anxiety as your body tries to recalibrate.
Oh, I was reading, you'll be able to explain it more to the people. It causes your brain to actually, when you come off or when you withdraw, you would think that your brain slows down, but it has the inverse effects. It overstimulates the neurons and like the pathways in your brain.
Yeah.
And that's what causes people to immediately go right back to more meth or to more substances because it's physically jarring to your brain to I guess, I don't know.
It disrupts it disrupts the homeostasis, and maybe your predisposition isn't ideal, right? Which makes you have even more of a likelihood
and my predisposition is not ideal. So that's why my bestie is like, no for you.
Please do not dabble in any ecstasy.
No for
10
you.
10 out of 10, don't recommend.
I can't have any fun, Mom.
Well, and we also talk about, I freely joke and speak about psilocybin and how I'm a fan, right? But I've said on the podcast before, and I cannot emphasize enough, people with a history of psychosis or even just a significant family history of significant mood instability and detachment from reality, that might not be your bag, baby.
That ain't my bag.
And so, like, let's avoid anything that can create that. And then a lot of the, going back to meth specifically, some of the scarier symptoms, it can happen with prolonged use. Lack of sleep. It can create hallucinations. The fact that meth can be made in anybody's bathroom, basically, you don't know what else might be in there. So there's some really scary implications with that. That was always kind of my fear with drugs as like a wee one, is that I have some specific allergies. My mom's allergic to a lot of different medications. And so I was always like, I don't know where this is coming from, where it's sourced from. And I really like my life too much to want to die from one opportunity of trying Molly.
Can't relate.
Can't relate.
Can't relate, but I understand where you're going.
Yeah.
Relate,
so, I mean, anytime we speak freely about how fun it would be or our thoughts on psilocybin or eating a gummy or whatever, that always has to, like, come with the overall disclaimer that drugs are not for everybody. Alcohol is not for everybody. Some people have a higher predisposition to addiction, and you have to tread lightly. You know, it would not be a good idea for me to get a roadie every single day on the way home because my father was horribly addicted to alcohol for a long time. So I need to be very mindful of that, right? Like I cannot fall into a pattern while I like to drink, as evidenced by the last episode with the Whiskey Bros. If you haven't listened to the episode from last week, maybe this makes you want to listen to it, but don't listen to the last 20 minutes.
Please do.
I don't even recall it.
Do not. And to the people that messaged me about the last 20 minutes of the episode,
You didn't.
You didn't. You don't know her. I don't know her.
Yeah.
And you don't know her.
And for anybody that was worried about how we got home safely, we hung out for a while and ate an exorbitant amount of Cheez-Its and drank a lot of water. And we arrived home safely. Thank you so much for your concern.
Yes.
But it was a good time. Don't regret it.
It's definitely a good time.
It was a
great
blast. I love to let loose. I love to let... I don't know what we need a name for our alter egos, but...
I don't know that I have an alter ego. I think I'm just...
I don't know. You get bold, baby. I like it.
I do?
Yeah. Do you remember singing Frito Bandito?
I don't know that that's necessarily bold. I
loved it.
I just get weirder and weirder, which is my natural homeostasis. And so
the mask is gone.
The mask, I have no masks.
I love it.
I get to the point and I'm like, I'm weird as fuck. This is just
She's
me.
my favorite animal. I love her. I love her.
Megan's all the time like, my favorite zoo animal is you just totally unmasked.
You letting loose. It is my favorite. Because I think like you have so many fun and hilarious things to say. And if you can stop giving a fuck about what people think, it's great. I love that.
I keep iterating this, and this is not about me. This is about a greater population, but maybe you can relate in the crowd. For the people, I'm not funny. I say things and people laugh. And that there's a difference. Okay? There's the comedian who carefully curates and crafts. He has a craft.
Yeah.
And then there's just sometimes the weird girl that says shit.
You have a way of
I dig
making people
it.
smile.
I love it. Right? It's good.
Yeah.
I think you say a lot of shit that people think that they don't say out loud, and that's why it's so funny.
That's why I was screaming, I wish I could shut the fuck up on the last podcast. I was like, I wish I could shut up. I wish so badly.
I love it.
You're my favorite animal just overall. I just love who you are. But thank you for your explanations. I think it's really important for people to hear from a professional like Megan about what this does to the physical brain, because we talk a lot in the addiction community about what happens to someone's life, to someone's relationships. But I think if you don't factor in sort of this physical component of what's going on cellularly inside the brain, it's similar to like Lane's book of like, where do we start with the problem?
Yeah.
Do we just keep arresting people, or do we more strategically step back and see what's causing this cycle?
I think it's so hard because I don't think it's a this or that option, right? Because I think you cannot, and I want to say this, I think there is a very important conversation about accountability in anything related to trauma, pain, addiction, mental illness, right? We don't necessarily always choose our pain. And while we have exorbitant amounts of empathy and compassion for people struggling with those things, there is still some responsibility in healing, right? Like if you figure it out and you connect the dots and you're like, this is where I want to be rather than where I am right now. And I say it with all the love and compassion in the world. Like there is a level of responsibility, accountability, motivation, and choices that you have to take actively to remove yourself from that situation. And again, like it's just like, you know, success in any capacity can be decided a lot by where you come from and what opportunities you have early on. We talk about that a lot, right? Like wanting to create better for our kids because, you know, we're like really having to hump it to get to where we want to be.
Every day. Every goddamn day.
Every day.
Every goddamn day.
If we were gifted our first home for our wedding, right, that our
car,
life would look a lot different. Right, exactly.
Fucking present.
I've never had anything I wasn't in debt for. Like, and I think that is just a
Did you know
we have to talk about that.
Did you know
right?
some people like get their schooling paid for?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Did you know that exists? There's like a thing. Did you know that? Did you know that?
I might have heard a thing or two.
There are rumors.
People
There's
start
rumors.
life debt free.
Oh God.
There are people
I came out the womb with a triple D credit. I was like, God damn, I'm over leveraged. God damn.
So I think, I don't ever want, when I talk about accountability in any of the subject matter that we bring up on this podcast, it is not saying like, this is your fault, you chose this, like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. This is just, hey, yeah, like here we are. And what are we going to do to move you out of this space? But what you were talking about with literally the physical brain structure, addiction does physically change the brain.
Yeah.
It limits your capacity to govern judgment, to, slow down on impulsive decisions. Like memory can be affected, decision making in general.
I'm checking all these boxes and I have no addiction, so I'm a little concerned. I'm so sorry.
Decision making in general can be more difficult for people who are already in addiction. What does that say to me? That means that their opportunity to accept accountability and make meaningful transitions in their day-to-day reality to remove themselves from that experience is harder. Like, it's not like you can just wake up one day after you've been a meth addict for 7 years and just stop.
Yeah, they're saying now that brain scans show that meth does more trauma than a traumatic brain injury, than a TBI.
Yeah. There is still hope. And I've had this conversation with a client this week. There is hope in neuroplasticity, just like if somebody has a horrific TBI or stroke, you can utilize different practices and principles and exercises like you learn in rehabilitation, whether it's physical or in this case, more of a mental health driven psychological rehabilitation reality. But your brain can establish new neurosynaptic connections, and what we practice grows stronger. So if we're practicing numbing, if we're practicing addiction, if we're practicing escapism, then that's going to be our impulse.
Your default.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when you're trying to transition your brain's tendency to not fall into those habits, you have to work really, really, really hard. And there is no magic wand. There is no perfect formula. It is a tenacious, decided action that you take every day to get out of an addictive cycle. And it's fucking hard.
It's really difficult.
It's so hard.
One of my favorite phrases that you say, and because I have memory issues, I might not say it as eloquently, but you always say, you don't get to choose your pain, but you get to choose your suffering.
Yes.
And it's made an impact on me, and I'm sure countless thousands of other people who have heard you say that, because it does, it allows for grace to the fact that you didn't get to choose what you were born into. You didn't get to choose that, maybe your brain isn't firing on 6 cylinders like someone like Mensa over here, lovingly, beautiful, love her. What, did that make you mad?
No.
I'm so sorry.
I love you. Just every time you bring that up, I'm like, that doesn't feel real. Don't say that out loud.
Sorry.
No,
like maybe you don't get to pick that.
I totally agree.
And so there's empathy in that phrase for the fact that you're right, kiddo. You weren't dealt the full ace. But you get to choose how you suffer.
Absolutely.
And I think it's really impactful for this beautiful balance that is really difficult to talk about in the addiction community of where do you draw the line between enablement and empathy?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is hard because I think I come at this topic with 2 pretty different vantage points. One, as a daughter of an addict, and knowing what allowing him to get to rock bottom felt like, but also seeing the redemption that he encountered post rock bottom experience.
Yeah.
He was, when I was getting married, he was homeless in Albuquerque, probably getting his rocks off on whatever substance he could afford on that given day.
Also a really great band name, Homeless in Albuquerque.
Write it down. We're trademarking it. You heard it here. That's ours.
Like a reggae rock band, Homeless in Albuquerque. I don't mean to diminish your
Joe's a vibe.
Joe, I love Joe.
Joe is a vibe.
Joe's a vibe.
We love Joe.
My dad and your dad.
Oh, they would get along for so many reasons. Anyway,
the audience doesn't even understand. We can have a whole podcast dedicated to that one. But
yeah, our dads.
Yeah,
we can title it "Daddy Issues," but we love them. The disclaimer is that we have good relations.
Father figure.
My dick's bigger.
I didn't know if we could.
I love Taylor Swift, and I love that she mentions male anatomy in multiple tracks on her latest album. It's great. Anyway,
I'm sorry, audience.
No,
I'm sorry.
They're not sorry. They love our rabbit trails.
I know, but
they've been missing us for over a month.
I know, but
it is time.
What you say is really important and impactful, and not to be cheesy and tear up, but like what you say matters,
but
and
I think
makes
melding
impact
it
with people.
Helps me keep.
And I don't want to be
it.
the reason that someone who needs this doesn't listen. So the floor is yours.
Well, I think so. As a daughter, knowing that it was really, really hard and relinquishing. Like, I really wanted to white knuckle my dad's experience. And I mean, think about it. I had just graduated with my master's in social work. I'm starting my family. I'm getting married. And there's not a damn thing I can do for my dad. Like, that is not for the faint of heart, A. And I also, anybody who has been in that experience, how hard it is to allow your loved one to be in that place.
Yeah.
It's gut-wrenching, and there's a lot of grief in that. But in my specific example, my dad did get sober. And it was after...
Go, Joe, go!
Yep. Yeah, he was sober for a while, but he got sober once Lennon was here, and so my kids got to experience him in a different way than I got to experience him, and I'm really grateful for that. And again, there's so much redemption in that story, but it did require me saying, "All right, Dad, I'm out, and I wish you the best." Yeah. And if you decide that you want to take steps to be a healthier version of you, I will be here. And I have all the resources, I have all the knowledge, I have all the things that I could help guide you with. But until you have a decision that you want to do this, I'm out. I'm absolutely out. But go ahead.
Do you find that daughters or sons of people with substance use disorder often blame themselves and feel a sense of shame? I only ask not to direct it towards me, but when I was in a relationship where that person had substance use disorder, I just all the time was like, if I was with me, I'd probably have to drink myself into oblivion too. Is it the same romantic relationships versus parental relationships?
Well, I think kids are like, man, if I was enough, wouldn't he be sober? Like, if I was enough, wouldn't he have gotten his shit together to be here when my kid was born?
Yeah.
Like, I think we definitely have those experiences. And I've experienced both, right? Like, I've been in the marriage too, which I think, again, we've talked before about desensitization in your childhood experiences can sometimes lead to the partners you choose, right? Shocker that I chose an addict.
Every time she says that, I rebuke it. I'm like, I don't.
But it's true. And I think there's so much.
I know it's true.
Yeah. There's so much we can learn from that, from people who are living addiction from that standpoint, and people who are choosing partners that fall into addiction, or people who find themselves enabling addictive patterns. A lot of that goes back to unprocessed childhood experiences. I think that we could spend 5 episodes attempting to unpack addiction and the implications, what gets people there, how being a family member of somebody who is in active addiction, what that feels like. And we could never cover it all. Yeah. I will put in the description of our episode some resources, some different books that you can read to dig into more about how, if we really look at addiction from the pain that sourced the need to numb, which then evolved into absolute active addiction. From a therapist standpoint, I think that's where we have to start, right? We have to figure out what was the initial them, like what in their identity, what in their personality or persona were they running from with that initial numbing. And again, I cannot emphasize enough, we are talking a lot about meth, alcohol, and harder drugs in this specific episode, because that's really what we've had more.
Because we're in the meth capital
that's what
of the USA.
Yeah, that's what we've had more exposure to.
We're proud here in Wise County.
We stand for something.
We stand. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Yeah.
Word. But we've unfortunately been really exposed to those harder drugs in our experiences, but this can be all sorts of different things, right? This can very much, social media is such an active addiction process in our society. Gaming, working out, dieting,
like people pleasing. There's a lot of addictions
absolutely.
that you can fall into and become sort of subject and traverse to.
And Gabor Maté describes it or defines it as anything that that helps you escape yourself. Anything that you choose that behavior, you choose that substance, you choose that action to escape pain or to escape yourself.
I was going to ask you, like, for people listening and they question whether or not they're addicted to something, whether it's meth or
what is that definition?
You know, what your therapeutic advice.
So as a rehab therapist, right? So, you know, one of the more, and this was, I mean, however many years ago, I was working in a rehab facility, like an inpatient setting. We said if there's social, financial, legal implications, like if all three of those boxes are checked, you're probably addicted. I think that in our current world, that may not be totally true.
Yeah, because I was gonna like a little push back lovingly and be like, oh no, I know. I have, I was going to push back.
There's a lot of really,
being recorded.
There's a lot of really unhealthy behaviors that are glorified in 2025.
Well, and I just think, because
please push back.
No.
Yeah.
And I don't mean push back. I don't mean that in a negative.
At the old school thought of
at
what
the old
is addiction.
School thought. Yeah, because the thing is that because we have destigmatized addiction and IQ, I want you to know there are a lot of brilliant people out there who have addictions, and they cover their tracks, and they know that people are looking for social, legal, and employment issues, and
they don't have them.
And they don't have them, and so because they say, well, I still have a job, I wouldn't be an alcoholic if I couldn't keep my job, and I don't know how many times I heard that.
Absolutely.
And
I totally agree with that. I think people are brilliant and creative and forever evolving to societal demands and definitions, and you can fall in line in a way that appears to be quite successful, and you can be thriving and every single day be masking your pain. I mean, my addictions are helping other people. Let's talk about anything but me, you know, and I'm happy to talk about me in like a haha or like in a high-minded like kind of way. Like, let's not talk about the vulnerable parts. Like, let's skim over that and move on to something else, right? Like, I love to stay busy. My books are busy all the time. Like, my preference is to work 9 to 6 with no breaks. I get in there, I get it done, I stay in my creative flow, and then I'm in mom mode, and then I crash at some point and go to sleep. Like, I'm addicted to being busy. And it's a really important gut check for me to say, like, I need to slow down, whether that looks like rotting and watching, oh my God, I don't know that I recommend it, but the Ed Gein Monster series this weekend. Well, like, please just, talk to your therapist and get clearance before you.
Can you tell them about Monday?
About Monday? Oh, listen, bitches. Oh, okay. So Life 360 did not alert me, but I'm like doing my thing, running late per usual, getting ready. And I get a message from Pony Boy that's like, I think my minivan days are over.
And my fucking car's smashed,
smoked.
Man. Like, smoked.
Airbags deployed.
Like, they tried to put it on the tow truck, and it was metaphorical. Like, it was moving, but it wasn't moving. It was
scraping.
Like,
the resistance.
The resistance.
The resistance. Okay, so I walk up. I, like, get all my shit done, get my life together.
Cheek.
Uh-huh. What?
The cheek meat story is.
I want to tell. Can we tell this story?
Oh, I don't care. Yeah,
are you sure?
I think it'll be fine because it's.
I think it's hilarious because it's again. I think one, you're not falling into the categories of the things that we're talking about, 100%. But this is hilarious and it creates some levity around.
Okay, you want me to break it down for the people?
Okay, wait. Let me say what I see when I walk up, and then I want you to tell your story. Okay, so I walk up. And if you don't, I'm so sorry, you're going to hate that I say this, but if you don't know Pony Boy, she's got a beautiful set of titties and they were free. They were free in her very oversized tie-dye shirt with a skull on it.
Tits out. I didn't know I was going to get a fucking wreck that day. You know what I'm saying?
Her beautiful self is like literally still actively cracking jokes. Like I park way away from the multiple cops and fire rigs on scene because my shocker registration is very out.
Mine
so I'm
too.
like, listen, we're not going to draw any attention to me. I'm going to park way back here. And I roll up and she's just like chipper as ever, cracking jokes. She's got her hands very full with all the shit from her van that she needs to get. Tits flying, jokes popping. Like it is a vibe. You were still An absolute vibe.
They kept asking me, like, how do you not have a scratch? Like, we're so confused why we don't need to call EMS. I'm like, I'm too unlucky to fucking die, man. And then the guy was like, you're so funny at a crash site. I was like, my whole life is a crash site,
It was
sir.
hilarious. I wish we could have videoed the whole experience.
But the hilarity of us talking about this today, in that moment in time, is that I refuse to use travel mugs.
Same though. This is one thing that we completely have the same taste in. I want a mug.
I want
it
mug.
warm. I want to spill coffee all over myself on the way to work.
I do not fuck with travel mugs. So
Same.
I don't like mornings, as you can tell, tits out, not dressed, whatever.
It was adorable.
It was a Grateful Dead tie-dye t-shirt for anyone listening. So that really sets the scene that I could look like, one would say, a stoner in my Grateful Dead
Absolutely.
tie-dye t-shirt and my fucking Birkenstocks. Tits out, just
It was a
getting
vibe.
in wrecks. How that correlates, you're going to lose your mind, is that I just grab a coffee cup, pour the coffee in it. I'm like, get in the car. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I get in this wreck. The coffee cup that I had chosen was from a little old town called Austin, Texas. I don't know if you've ever been there. They have a culture there of sort of being very 420 friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Some would even say that's just the vibe there.
Yeah.
So the coffee cup that I had selected was from Wake and Bake Coffee Co. That is also a bong.
She literally had a bong in hand.
So the state trooper walks up to me and he's like, hey girl, what you holding? I said, a bong. Coffee cup. It's a coffee cup. It's a souvenir coffee cup. And I'm like over explaining. I'm like, please test me. Take my blood right now. I don't care what you do. Call EMS. Like, check my pupils. This
So
is just a
funny.
souvenir coffee cup. And he says, sweet honey bunny, that is paraphernalia. So we're going to put that under the seat. Do you understand me? And
He's
I
like,
said,
before the guy that I'm training that is literally by the book comes up right now, I'm going to need you to hide that.
and then we're coming around and he's issuing citations to everybody that was in this accident. And Megan makes a comment. She's like, oh, man, you couldn't go easy on her today. And he's like, I did. Could have taken her ass to jail.
I love it. I think it's classic. I will literally never forget that.
Bong
But the
coffee cup.
story she was telling is that later that night, we do a lot of life together, so I didn't know what you meant by Monday. But she was cooking from HEB.
HEB.
Frozen. It literally
Barbacoa.
was barbacoa, but the subtitle was beef cheek meat.
Cheek meat.
And so I obviously, my mind immediately, I'm an ass girl. I've always been an ass girl. So my mind goes to, and anybody, I don't know, like you've lived in Texas forever, so I'm still shocked where your mind went. But the ass, like the beef ass is exactly where my mind
No,
went.
she called it the rump.
The rump.
The rump meat.
But she's like, the whole time thinking, from the time I said beef cheek meat, this bitch is picturing eating a cow's face.
cheek meat. Cheek meat.
No.
Cheek meat.
That's not a rational.
And so we sit down, we have our plates made, we're taking the first bite. And I said, that's crazy that the face tastes so good. And she had just seen the Ed Gein
I was like, y'all,
monster show.
I can't.
And she went,
I don't have it like there. I'm terrified of a couple things in life, but this, and I don't get rattled. Like I'm a true crime. Like I don't really like poltergeist or like that kind of shit. Like I don't fuck with that because I think that that's a spiritual realm that I don't have control over. But as far as like serial killers and like raunchy, like psychological thrillers, I fucking love them. This series stuck with me in a way that I am unsettled with.
She's unwell.
And I could not eat that barbacoa. I tasted face. And I could not eat it.
No, she
I was
looks
done.
at me and she was like, you dumbass, it's the ass. And I was like, oh, it's not.
And then she's like, why is eating ass easier than eating face? I'm like, for obvious reasons.
So
Anyway,
she couldn't.
we digress.
I ate my tacos.
No.
And she couldn't finish hers.
I just tasted face, whatever that tastes like. I couldn't do it. I was
Yeah.
done. I was done. So be careful what Netflix series you immerse yourself in if you're taking days to not be busy. That's how we got there. That's how we got to that place. in our life today. But yeah, so I think we all have to be probably involuntarily thrusted into analyzing our realities, our behaviors, our actions, our choices, and figuring out what are we escaping from? You know, like, is it choosing emotionally unavailable partners? Is it engaging in doom scrolling instead of actually resting and getting connection with the people that are around you? Is it staying busy? Is it substances? You know, and I think that we all probably have some tendency on that spectrum, on that measuring stick, on that barometer of numbing and addiction. Brene Brown talks a lot about numbing in Daring Greatly. And she talks about how the United States wouldn't be the most obese, you know, the biggest consumers of wine and liquor if it was only based on the number of people who are in active addiction. We love numbing.
Yeah.
We love to numb. And I think we just all have to have a really honest conversation with ourselves, maybe our therapist, maybe our family, and talk about like, what are the pain points in my life that I'm forever running from? And how much of a more present mother, friend, sister, daughter, partner could I be if I stopped running?
Yeah.
And if I just healed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, and I'm not good. I love that for y'all. And that's great. Can you, just for the audience, and because I think it's really great, it was impactful to me, go over the Gabor Maté quote of what he says addiction is one more time?
Yes. Let me actually, like, it really, the way that he describes it, is he asks this question. The question is not why the addiction. Like, we try so hard to understand, you know, why did that person choose addiction when it never started as that person choosing to be an alcoholic or choosing to be a meth addict or choosing to be addicted to porn. It never started there. The question is, why the pain? And he argues, and I'll read a few different quotes from him, just that I got from his book. All addictions, alcohol or otherwise, are attempts to escape distress. What pain is being avoided? The essence of trauma is disconnection. So as you said early in the episode, like in your experience or in watching other people who have neurodivergence or who have a little bit of autism and feel disconnected from people in general, that's trauma. Like being perpetually disconnected and perpetually yearning for belonging, that is trauma. It doesn't have to be big T trauma, this one moment on one day in the calendar. So disconnection from ourselves or from others. So we need to try to reconnect to the pain and heal from that pain to help people recover from addiction. And then he says, not all addictions are rooted in abuse or trauma, but I do believe they can all be traced to a painful disconnection from the self. So we're not saying that every single person who, you know, did too many lines of blow and then got addicted, maybe there is no trauma in their story. Maybe it's just entitlement and hedonism, right? Who knows? But there is still disconnection from self.
Maybe they work in finance and they needed to crunch some numbers.
Yeah. And then he says and he's controversial in this. Like I fully embrace that when we do a part 2, because we already said that we would do a part 2 on addiction because there's just too much and we're going to wrap up soon. So there's too much to fill, you know, to not fill more than one episode. But you don't have to be an addict to be addicted. We are all drawn to distractions that keep us from pain. Yeah. And I think what I want to really close my perspective with is that the risk that we take, and this is something that we've talked about when we say choosing our suffering, when you elect to numb the hard stuff, unfortunately, you don't get to selectively numb. When we numb the dark, we also numb the light. Yeah. And so when we choose to disconnect from ourselves to avoid pain, we also disconnect from joy and love and beauty and creativity and meaningful relationships. And yeah, it might make the hurt feel less impactful, but we also miss out on all the good stuff. Yeah. So I think that this is a heavy struggle that, I mean, I don't go a week without somebody reaching out and asking for resources. I think as a social worker, like at heart, I'm very resource driven. So if you are struggling with addiction, or if you feel like, hey, I don't know, that kind of tracks, I might be addicted to this behavior and I really want to figure out like what pain I'm running from, I 10 out of 10 recommend therapy. It doesn't have to be me, but it probably should be somebody. And really working through that pain. I'm also going to, like I said, post probably a couple YouTube videos and a couple of books that people can kind of dig into. But let us know your discourse. Like, what are your reactions to what we've shared today? What are your disagreements? What are your struggles? What resources do you need?
Disagree. Don't send us your disagreements. That was sweet.
Maybe questions.
She's being political.
Maybe you need clarification.
No.
Hey,
No,
but we
just kidding.
we do love the idea of having a segment on like kind of like love letters to Kelly.
Where people phone in.
Yeah, where we phone in and literally get people, like, if you send in something that you want to talk about, we, like, for the intro, call you on speaker and kind of hash it out. So let us know your questions. We're excited to be back for season 2. We have lots of good things coming your way.
Season 2. Thank you for, Big Daddy Lane for writing this book and sparking this.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't hate that. But that's how I see him in my eyes, is Big Daddy Lane. Thank you for writing this book and shining a light on an issue that's really heavy to this community, but it just far flows from the North Texas area to a global issue.
Absolutely.
And kind of spotlighting some things that I didn't even know about it, and especially when it comes to law enforcement.
Yeah,
so thank you for sparking
honest
this.
way. Yeah, it was good. Really good. And thanks, Chance, for helping us with this episode.
Euphony? Euphony Productions.
Yeah.
Euphony.
I know we inspire all the people to start their own podcast because they're like, damn, if they can do it, we can do it. So if you want to, you should reach out to Chance with Euphony Productions and start your own podcast.
Okay, does the word euphony have some symbolic meaning?
Oh, ask Doc. Listen,
okay.
Doc has thoughts on this.
Okay.
Doc is very excited about this name.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Ask Doc.
Yeah.
So if I Google Gemini, what does euphony mean? Will I get close, or is it
Yes,
sort of
you'll-
localized?
Yes.
Okay.
No, you'll get there.
Okay.
So thanks so much for having us. We appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Same place, same time next week.
Yes.
Same place, same time.
absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Have a good one. Stay weird.
In the arms of the angels, fly